And then we had, a quick cold front come through, and we had like a 1 week lull, but truly all through May was really, really good fishing.
I'm all about, first of all, everything outdoors. It's just, part of who I am. I love to hunt and fish and dive and spearfish.
That imports all the century blanks into the USA. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, Frank, can I talk to you?" And we started talking one night about a blackfish rod.
And I was absolutely obsessed from that moment on, and stopped fishing entirely for any other species, and just learned and obsessed and became really driven to just fish this really elusive fish that's like super rare.
Welcome back to another episode of Anglers Anonymous Podcast. This is yours truly, Aaron Snyder, sitting down with some of the world's leading tackle manufacturers in the business, captains, first mates, and anyone that loves the outdoors as much as we do. So I hope you guys get as much as I've gotten out of sitting down with some of the guests that I've had the pleasure of interviewing. Stay tuned, guys. Much more to come. Welcome to another episode of Anglers Anonymous Podcast. Your host, Aaron Snyder, and I haven't been on for a while, guys. I wanted to come on today and talk to you guys about some FWC news. Nothing too exciting, but, I was actually thrown off guard the other day when I went to go renew a license and found out that Florida requires you to pay for a saltwater license. So I figured if that was new to me, maybe some of this is new to you, and you guys can actually benefit from some of the stuff that, I've been reading on FWC. Maybe some of this doesn't apply. Maybe some of this is boring, but what I enjoy about the podcasts is I can put this on in the morning on a drive to work and actually just, listen for 20 minutes to half an hour and get filled in on what's going on in my state or my county or, my zone when it comes to fishing. So the first thing I came across from the FWC website, we have on April 11th, we have a workshop in Okaloosa County in dangerous Galapagos, if I'm saying that right, turtle conservation. The goal of these workshops is to encourage participants in the turtle conservation at a local level by providing information that could assist participants with establishing local Galapagos protection policies. So that sounds to me like a council meeting or some type of meeting, maybe not even like a council meeting, a workshop. So you're going to be basically sitting down with some of, I want to hope to say FWC officials and, encouraging some of the locals how they can benefit, this endangered species of turtle to be able to nest properly without any kind of, interruptions on the beaches here. We have a lot going on down here in South Florida with spring break. And even, it's weird. I used to say there was like a snowbird season, but I think there's just whenever you get the time season, I think that's what's happening. So, if you have the money to get down here and you have the time off, people just tear ass and get down here and spend a couple weeks to a month. And, it kind of interrupted that snowbird season where it doesn't even exist anymore. Yes, we have influxes certain times of the year, especially when it's cold up north, but I see it all year long now. We were just talking about this driving down the road the other day. Next thing here on the site, give released fish a better chance. FWC, American Sports Fishing Association, Coastal Conservation Association, Florida, Coastal Conservation Association, Florida, remind anglers to carry I don't know how to pronounce that word, guys. Some kind of mitigation tool to help conserve reef fish. So I'm assuming it's what I would call bladder popper, something to be able to release the air out of the fish when you pull them from a depth and their bellies are all blown out of their mouths. It's exactly what it is. It's a venting tool. So starting April 1st, anglers fishing from a vessel targeting reef fish will be required to have on board a descending device or venting tool that is rigged and ready for use to help conserve reef fish in the state waters. Which, guys, I really think that's an amazing idea. I mean, come the hell on. You're going out there, you're pulling these fish up from 100 foot plus, and they have their bellies stuck out of their mouths and they're undersized. You know, think about it. You can't keep the fish, even if it's dead. Throw it back, it dies because its stomach is sticking out of its mouth. So why not have that ready on board to where, you know, you can actually save that young undersized fish and you know, catch it again another day when it's actually the right size. That's you know, it's one of the smart things I've heard on here. The next article says, save the date. FWC and Destin Fort Walton Beach host 9th annual Lionfish Festival, May 20th to 21st. So I know this is huge in the state of Florida. I haven't participated in this. I've always wanted to, but it's more for your free diving, your snorkeling, and your, you know, your tank diving. You go out and you catch these lionfish. So lionfish are an invasive species here, and supposedly they tear up our reefs. They eat all the baby fish to fry, and you know, they make it really impossible for these smaller species, even the larger species, to spawn and not just get sucked up by these lionfish. And not to mention, they have poisonous barbs on them, which, you know, can put you in the hospital if you don't handle them properly. So what the article says here, Tuesday, March 28th, 2023, this outdoor event is free, open to the public, and will feature family-friend activities, art, diving, and marine conservation booths, live music, fillet demonstrations, and the world's largest lionfish tournament, the Emerald Coast Open. So that's pretty cool. You know, that's really, really cool to even have someone at this event demonstrating how to fillet these fish, because I feel like it reminds me of the puffer fish back home in New Jersey, which, you know, everybody hears puffer fish. They think of the, you know, the other version where it's poisonous to eat. They don't even touch them. But I have a good friend named Jim that loves to eat puffer fish, along with a lot of locals in New Jersey. And he says that it's really white, fluffy meat. And, you know, it's got a certain technique on how to fillet it to get that meat off. I'm assuming the same with the lionfish because of the poisonous barbs all over the fish. People, for the longest time, I'm assuming they would think they were trash fish, but I've been told super white, flaky meat. Gonna have to try that this year, guys, and let you know what I think about that. That is May 20th to the 21st. And then also Tuesday, March 28th is the outdoor event. And I'm assuming the tournament, Emerald Coast Open. Next article here, recreational registration changes for Atlantic red porgy starting April 1st. Tuesday, March 28th, is just giving you the date when this was posted, 2023. The FWC recently approved recreational management changes for red porgy and several other reef fish to be consistent with recent federal changes. Let's click on that one and see what's going on. So it says starting April 1st, in Atlantic state waters, the red porgy recreational bag limit will be reduced from 3 to 1 fish per person per day, and the open recreational season will be May to June. Such as red porgy will be closed to the recreational harvest in the Atlantic state waters starting April 1st and will reopen on May 1st. Let me stop right there for a second. So I haven't been out for these fish since New Jersey, right? I'm sure it's a different, species of porgy, but if it's anything like our northern porgy, I mean, I'm trying to walk on glass here and speak, you know, from experience. There's no shortage of these fish up north. So if it's anything close to that down here, down south, to shut the season down and to close it down in such a small window, I'm sure for breeding purposes and, you know, God only knows what else, and to limit it to 1 fish per person. I mean, it's almost doing what it was going to do for a lot of my friends back north with the striped bass. It made it not worth it to go out to target for harvesting purposes, for, to bring meat home to stock up, or to even have a barbecue or whatever. It made it very difficult to want to be able to go fuel your boat up. You got $1,000 worth of gear, if not way more, and then to run and use that fuel, that $200 or $300 worth of fuel, to go off to catch one fish. I mean, it makes it very tough, and seeing things like this, it makes it very hard to understand why. I know you can say breeding. I know you can say spawning. I know you can say, they're being overfished, but to think of the way the regulation was prior to this to what it is today is going to change it so drastically to where in a year from now, the Porgy's going to be back up to 5 or 10 per person. I don't see it happening. I see allowing these people to make these laws and, almost taking it completely away for the possibility of harvesting fish. I mean, I can't see any other reason why it's down to 1. I would love to believe it's for the conservation of the species, and, that this would protect them and the longevity of the fish. But it seems like every year it's getting lower and lower on what you can actually bring home. So, that's scary. It sucks. It really does. And I hope it doesn't deter you from getting out the fish. I just hope you are able to come up with more craftier, efficient ways of getting out there to catch these fish. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, FWC, recently approved recreational management changes for red porgy and several other reef fish to be consistent with the recent federal changes. Last year, the South Atlantic Fishery Management Council approved management changes to help rebuild the red porgy stock, which is overfished and undergoing overfishing. Consistent regulations. Let me repeat that. Which is overfished and undergoing overfishing. Verbatim. Consistent regulations between state and federal waters can help improve the red porgy fishery, increase regulatory compliance, and aid in effort. So again, guys, I ran it on there for a little while. It's very frustrating to think about such a small window to be able to go out and catch red porgy and then to only be able to keep one. I mean, I wish I had, the regulations for charter boat guys and the commercial guys, because I'm sure it's not one fish. So, and I hope it's not one fish for the charter boat guys. All right, let's go back here and we'll check out our next article. And if you're driving into work, I hope you're safe. I hope you have a great day, and I hope you kick some ass. So we'll go down to spiny lobster. It's coming up here, which is awesome. Again, another species I've never been out to target. I don't really enjoy the southern lobster. So if you're from up north and you had the pleasure of trying our Maine lobster or northern lobster, in comparison to our spiny down here, I think it's friggin' rubber. I think it's like chewing on a dog toy. I don't care how long you cook it. I've had it straight out of the water. I've not caught it out of the water, but I've had it straight out of the water. I've had it cooked for me on the grill and pan-seared, and I've tasted nothing but chewy lobster meat. Yes, it's good. The flavoring is something similar to the northern, lobster, but the texture is like, the consistency is like a freaking dog toy. And no matter what I do, you can't get away from that. So for me personally, Maine lobster, the claw is my favorite. You don't even have claws on these guys. It's just tail. Guys love it. I mean, guys freaking love it. I think it would be really good as a chowder, but I mean, come on, I feel like if you got to go that far to enjoy it, yeah. But the spiny lobster recreational and commercial season closed to harvest in state and federal waters starting April 1st and will reopen August 6th. The 2-day recreational sports season is the last consecutive Wednesday and Thursday of July, which is July 26th and July 27th of this year. And then boom, it's closed until August 6th. So if you guys are trying to go out and experience catching some spiny lobster for the first time, which I still want to do, I think the whole idea of going out and finding an area where these guys are only in 5 foot of water and, being able to snorkel with my daughter and go down and, you poke it with a stick and make it run backwards or swim backwards into a net. I think that's friggin' awesome. And I think we'd enjoy that a lot. But again, make sure you check. I know there's a permit that you have to buy or a stamp to add to your fishing license. So I believe they're called tags down here. Go back and check out the next article. We have permit spawning season closure inside a special permit zone starting April 1st. So we have this closure includes the state and federal waters south of Cape Sable on the Gulf Coast and south of Cape Florida on the Atlantic coast, including all of the Florida Keys and the Biscayne Bay south of Rickenbacker Causeway. If I trash that, I do apologize, guys. So they're closing that for spawning purposes on permit. Speaking of permit, you see them caught here and there here, but to me, I've always heard these amazing stories of going down to the Keys and catching them down there on the flats with a fly, imitation crab fly, or live baiting them on the flats down there, which I thought would be an amazing trip. FWC seeks to construct nuisance alligators. Let me read this one. Okay. So FWC seeks to contract nuisance alligator trappers for Levy County, which is pretty cool. I had a buddy that was a chef at one of the retirement communities down here in South Florida. When he was younger, he was in Palm Beach County, I believe. And he had, purchased or had applied for his trapper's license. And this man said he'd make $800 sometimes a gator. I mean, can you imagine that? Can you imagine that for a northern guy? I mean, personally, as a Jersey boy, I would freaking love that. I would have loved that back home if there was something like that for us to do. I mean, it's like going out and catching Achilles, you know what I mean? Like the little mud minnows and selling them to the bait shops. Instead, you're getting something that could bite your face off and you get $800 for it. I mean, I would have been, come on, you kidding me? 14 to 16 years old, I would have been all for this. I would have been Gator Man. You know what I mean? All right, so we got the State Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, FWC statewide nuisance alligator program, is accepting applications for contracted nuisance alligator trappers in Levy County, Levy County. Applications must pass a criminal history check, have no fish and wildlife law violations, and possess a valid working email address. Which, that's the hardest one of them all I get, right? To learn more about becoming a contracted nuisance gator trapper and to apply online, visit myfwc.com/alligator and click on the statewide nuisance alligator program. Applications must be received by Monday, April 10th. For more information, FWC/alligator. All right, guys, let's go back here. Go into the next one. Again, I hope I'm not holding you up. I hope you're ready to get on to anxious to get on to the next topic here. And I hope you guys have a great day at work. Let's go down. Our next topic is catch some fun this weekend on license-free freshwater fishing day. So this is really cool. So I know New Jersey does this as well. This is coming up the next couple of days here. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the FWC, invites Florida residents and visitors to go freshwater fishing during the 2-day license-free days this weekend, April 1st and April 2nd. If you are new to fishing, visit Learn to Fish on the webpage of FWC for all the information you will need to bring and where to go. So they're kind of giving you tips on where to go, the local ponds, local rivers, where you can actually fish without a license if you are not a licensed resident of the state of Florida. License-free freshwater fishing days provide an excellent opportunity for those new to the fishing without needing the first purchase of a license. And I believe that wholeheartedly. It literally allows you to get someone new out there. If it's a young kid, if it's a friend that has always thought about getting into it and always wanted to do it, but then when they hear about a $17 or $60 charge just to have a license to go out, and then you're looking at $60 in a rod and reel combo, and then you're looking at $60 in bait and tackle, and then you're looking at gas and lunch, and it could add up real fast to where it becomes, well, maybe I'll just go at night when nobody sees me. And then you wind up getting caught by FWC, and it's 3 times that much money, and they take all the crap that you just bought. So I definitely suggest if you're thinking about going out and going fishing, if you can't afford a rod and reel, if you can't afford some tackle, please reach out to someone like myself. I mean, there's a page on Facebook, Barefoot Bay Fishing Club. If you guys go on there and you're local to Barefoot Bay or even the Sebastian area, I can help you out with a rod. I can help you out with some tackle. I could definitely get you set up to where you could take a young one fishing, or if you are a young one and you don't have any of that, and you need it for the day, please, I 100% got you. And I guarantee you go down my friends list on Facebook or you go down my friends list on Instagram, you'll find 20 people willing to do the exact same thing. So don't ever be afraid to ask for help when it comes to fishing, guys, please. But again, April 1st and 2nd, freshwater fishing, 2 free days, no permits needed, no license needed. You're able to fish without a problem. When? Saturday, April 1st from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. And then I'm assuming the same time the following day. All right, we're going to go down to the next conversation here, guys. They have a Florida fishing trail coming to Hardy County. We have a go slow and look out below. Manatees are on the move. We have some really cool manatee footage on, I believe it's our Facebook page or our Instagram, which is really cool. We got really close to them one day. Well, almost every time we go out, but try to stay away from them and give them their space. But we went to the Sebastian Inlet, me and my lady, and we were walking along the bank throwing some live shrimp, and a whole group, I don't know if you want to call them a whole flock, a whole squad, a whole group of manatees, babies and, monster ones came up, and they were only in about a foot of water eating the grass off the rocks. And we were able to go up and get, almost right in their face with the camera and, kind of just really check them out close and personal before, just letting them do their thing. Because you can't touch them down here. I know it's crazy, but I mean, it's good. You have weirdos everywhere. So, there's signs up all over the place. Don't molest the wildlife. Don't molest the gators. Don't molest the manatees. And it's really for their safety. You don't want to have somebody all messed up or all drunk going out there trying to mess with a friggin' manatee and hurt it or, wind up killing the thing. So it's only to protect the animals. Thursday, March 23rd, which is when this was written. Again, FWC seeks public commitment on producing designated anchoring areas in Monroe County. So this was a big deal. Okay, let me read that again. FWC seeks public commitment on FWC seeks public commitment on proposed designated anchoring areas in Monroe County. Okay, so back about a month ago, I watched a live broadcast. I believe it was a couple committee people that were talking about, where and how long you should be able to anchor and, really moor your vessel in the water, in the Indian River, in the lagoon and up and down all the way to friggin' Miami. And they were saying this because a lot of the people that anchor, they're literally abandoning their boats. I don't think they have that in mind, but what I was telling my lady was, I think that, say you're well-to-do, you buy a sailing vessel, you come down here, you're in your condo. Hurricane's about to hit, you go out, you button that thing up, you fly away from the friggin' hurricane, you're 97 years old, you're 78 years old, you have a heart attack, you die, you have no family. That vessel's out there. That's it. It's a floating friggin' reef now. And the next hurricane snaps, it moves, it hits other vessels, it becomes a problem. So what, not exactly that situation, but there's a bunch of different situations that are very similar to that. And they get to the point of a bunch of vessels being left abandoned in the Indian River Lagoon and along the whole causeway. So they came up in this council meeting with a couple ideas on how long you're able to leave it there, what the counties can do, if they can tag it and remove it, if they can charge the resident or the owner, different ways. And my only question was on there was, well, how long does it have to be abandoned before you can claim it? I'm thinking in my mind, like, we're going to go out there on my flats boat. I'm going to find one that's been out there for 90 days. I'm going to jump on this thing, raise the pirate flag. Boom, done. I got a sailing vessel. I'm going back to Massachusetts this summer on my new friggin' catamaran sailing vessel that someone didn't give a crap about. But it doesn't work that way, unfortunately. I'm sure it works that way for somebody somewhere. And one of the council members or families or friends, I'm sure it works for some of them guys. But it's very unfortunate. Nothing at all, even legally, works like that for the abandoned vessels. So you have to call it in. They come out. They tag it with a sticker that says it's been, tagged by blah. I think FWC even. And then they run the numbers if they can find them and try to get a hold of whoever is living connected to. Then they charge or, threaten a charge of a payment if you don't come to get your abandoned vessel off the water. And if they don't, then they actually tow it. And that's where money comes in for the local, I guess, counties, because they are able to tow it to the, storage yards in the local municipalities. And then I'm not sure if even the county members know what happens from there. I think these things are literally going to sit in a tow yard till they die, because I don't think they don't even have anything in legislation where, or even in, a written bill to where it says after so many days after being towed and landed, it can be sold at auction. Like, there's nothing. So that's what that commission and that hearing and that kind of, back and forth banner was about, was to figure out what to do in that situation with these vessels. And I'm still curious, I know they just put this post up now due to the changes in the section 327.4108. Florida statute. The legislation approves last year, the FWC will adopt rules establishing anchor areas along with maximum allowed vessel drafts throughout Monroe County. But again, that's in Monroe County. If you go over to Brevard County, if you go over to Volusia, like that's just for one, and I see them. I could literally, if I wasn't working right now, I could jump on the boat or even in the car and go down to the river and point out 5 from the last hurricane that are up on land with their masses up, dropped over the friggin' road. Like, blows my mind. Back north, a guy would have been underneath that thing, tied to the friggin', to the stern of that thing and ripped it off the friggin' sandbar, and it would have been floating again. But they got different ways of doing stuff down here, guys. It's just, it's wild. So hopefully something comes to where it at least benefits somebody. And I don't know how they don't see there's actually a market for used boats like that. So, if something's been abandoned, give it a certain amount of, in my opinion, give it a certain amount of days. And then before you even pull it out of the water, make an FWC site where, like, hey, abandoned vessels for auction, blah. Dude, I'm telling you, you'll sell. Spring begins more active from Florida's wildlife. Okay, well, that's a wildlife one. FWC and DEP visit Southwest Florida to survey red tide conditions and ensure locals' needs are being met. So every year, same damn thing, same damn place. There's no news coverage of this whatsoever. I don't know why. Well, I mean, depending where you're at with your political views, you can kind of understand why, but there's not enough news coverage of what's going on. I got friends that are over there. I have friends that are guides over there. And there's fish floating for football fields, and the water's disgusting. So, it's such a sad situation. We need understanding from the government here. We need understanding, I don't even know if we need understanding. We need something done. We need change to just happen. All this talking about all this stuff that we could possibly do, it's been happening for 6 years. every year since I've been here, there's been one guy or two guys or a new guy every year that jumps up and says, I have this idea. I know what it is. I know what's happening. I know what we have to do to fix it. Look at me, look at me, look at me. Give me a bunch of money, invest in my stuff, make sure my budget is bloop from the government, and then it falls off. Red tide normally goes away, dissipates, gets washed out. You don't hear a freaking thing about it. Next year comes around, guess what happens? So, and I know it's a touchy situation. I know it's a touchy subject. I just would love to see something done about it. Next one, let's go into snook, right? FWC statewide snook workshop starts next week. FWC staff is proposing to establish 10 new management with snook regulations based on the statute of the fishery in each region. So again, that's great. I mean, I didn't know until this year that you had to have a special stamp or tag to harvest snook. I just thought there was a certain season that you could go harvest this fish, and that was it. It was closed after that. Not a special stamp you had to buy. So I mean, here we are again with another rule, another law, another who knows. So fingers crossed, we're still allowed to catch snook next year. FWC removes first vessel through the newly created vessel turn-in program. So this is kind of going back to what I was saying. So VTIP is the key component in the Florida Derelict Vessel Prevention Program. This voluntary program is designed to help owners dispose of their unwanted at-risk vessels before they become derelict. So, great. If you know where you're at, you know who the owner is, and he just wants to be done with it. Awesome. You gave an out for the guy that can't remove it himself. That is good. I mean, hey. And then I think we'll end with this one, guys. So we'll do the nesting season arrives on the Florida coast for sea turtles and water birds. Be careful, guys, please, when you're out there. Let me click on this one and we'll read a little bit more about this. I'll give you a little more information on what's going on. And while this loads, I want to let you guys know, if you've listened this long, I have a few podcasts coming up. We have a new to the market rod builder. He's, the company claims to have new technology with these rods and these blanks, and that they're stronger than anything else out there. And we're gonna definitely question this company and put them to the test on the podcast. And I'd love to find out more about that rod. We do have a couple bait makers, one from the UK that I've been following for a very long time that makes the most realistic looking baits out there on the market that I could find. So we have that to look forward to as well. All right, right back into it. Nesting season has started for both sea turtles and water birds in the Sunshine State. The Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission reminds people they can help protect vulnerable nesting sea turtles and water birds this spring and summer while visiting Florida's coastal habitats. Because our states and shorelines are critical to sea turtles and water bird nestings, beachcombers can have a big impact on their nesting success. To help with nesting on the sea turtles and water birds, give them space, minimum distraction and disturbance, and keep beaches clean and dark. So when they say dark, guys, I didn't understand how important that was for these baby sea turtles. If you ever watch it on National Geographic, they mention it for a second, but that's it. They rely on a certain moon, a full moon, to be able to find the water. So when the mom goes up on the beach, say, half a football field or whatnot, and buries the turtles, they come up and they could be facing the land. So if they see someone's friggin', $900 LED porch light that looks like American Pickers picked it out of the friggin' trash and refurbished it and put it on a beach house, glowing as bright as the moon, they're going towards that lady's house with everything in them. I mean, they'll literally exhaust their little bodies trying to crawl up through the mangroves and the weeds and whatnot, the beach grass, to get to that lady's house where they think the water is, which sucks. So they definitely suggest, if you are a resident down here, please pop on to FWC.com, myfwc.com, they will give you, that month or couple months or that, window where these turtles are nesting and they're going to be hatching. So you could just make sure to even cover the one side of it that's closest to the beach or turn it off completely. And it goes down for guys fishing on the beach. You got big old bright lights down there, guys. Try to keep them pointed towards the water and not towards the beach. You don't want these, the turtles kind of coming towards you or any distraction whatsoever, guys, really. It's an awesome thing to witness. We were able to volunteer last year, me and my lady, and help with some of, the nesting areas and actually having them coned off. And, we did some caution taping around them and just protecting and walking of the beach to make sure there was no debris and trash, fishing line kind of, in the direction of the way that these turtles would be coming up out of their nests and hitting the water. Really cool and really awesome experience if you guys have the chance to do that. But again, please, lights are very important, but keeping the beach clean all the time is super important. You bring it down there with you, you take it off. And guys, that will conclude this episode of Anglers Anonymous podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope this was informational. I hope you guys got something from this. And if not, I hope it took up a half an hour of drive time and, that much better. Sorry for the little text coming through there. They're calling me back to work. All right, guys, I will see you on the water. And until next time, keep them lines tight. See y'all.
Thank you guys for watching another episode of Anglers Anonymous podcast or listening on Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, or Google Podcasts. Guys, I will be back with a few new episodes coming up in the month of April, so make sure you guys go ahead and subscribe or like and just follow. And remember, follow your dreams and me on all my social media platforms. See you guys on the water.